Oriental rabbis of yesteryear. Now we're talking tonight about a famous Tunisian rabbi, Rabbi Uzziel Elḥa'ik, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, famous rabbi in Tunisia. I've got differing opinions of when he actually passed away. According to much opinion, it says the year 1820 or maybe 1818, or even as early as 1812. But those are different opinions. He was a very, very great rabbi. He would go on to become a rabbi, a דיין, a judge, really a great prominent figure in Tunisian rabbinic Jewry, respectively. He'll be a historian within regards to, let's just say, the importance of the congregation in Tunisia, the Jewish congregation there, respectively, and will take on many roles within of itself in the realm of sphere of Judaism and Yahdut. Let's explore a few of the highlights of his life. Now, first things first, we're not sure the exact date of his Hilula, but some people commemorate it actually on the 20th of Iyar, because I believe that was the date when his book called the Mishkanot HaRo'im maybe got the signature of approval to it, but be it as may, I'm not 100% sure on the exact date when he actually passed away. So he was born in Tunis, I think around the year Haytaf Kuf, if I'm not mistaken, possibly around the year 1740 approximately. And I believe his father was a great rabbi, Rav Mordechai. He happened to be a דיין, a judge of that vicinity over there, and had much responsibility. It's reported that his father passed away in Tzfat, the holy city of Tzfat, back in the English year 1777. Now, when he was young, he would learn Torah under the auspices of Rav Natan Borjil, a rabbi we've spoken about, I believe, on various occasions before. He was one of the great rabbis of Tunisia of his day. He was the head of Jewish court, his Rav was, and was, let's just say, a head rabbi in himself, and the author of the Chatm Natan, if I'm not mistaken, a really great book on kosher, respectively. So that was one of his rabbis. I believe he had more rabbis also. Rav David Najjar, for example, he had a strong connection with regards to Torah and Judaism. And also the famous Rabbi Yitzchak Taib, very, very famous rabbi, another one of the great Tunisian rabbis, who happened to be the author of the Sfarim, the Aruch Shulchan, respectively. Now, come what's in the year 1774, it's reported over he would meet the Chida, who is the Chida, Rabbi Chaim Yosef David Azulay. Very interesting. He was one of the most famous Moroccan rabbis, without a doubt, in Jewish history, and possibly one of the most famous rabbis, or well-traveled rabbis. So he would actually meet him in Tunis. I believe the Chida would actually try and arrange to meet him. In the year 1785, I think he would actually go on to move to the area of Nabal, if I'm not mistaken. Let's just say this is in more of the central part of Tunisia, if I'm not mistaken. That's because a plague broke out in the vicinity he was in. So I think in 1781, a few years earlier, that was when he was appointed as a judge, as a דיין. It was a very, very prominent position. And he was, as a board, this was brought about huge prestige, huge responsibility at that point in time. And he would become part of the, let's say, or the president of the Bet Din, of the rabbis in Tunisia. I'm not too sure the exact date. Now, he would keep this position from the late 1700s till he passed away in different time periods. I'm reading here on Wikipedia. It was in the year 1818. Now, after he passed away, it's interesting. I believe, it was obviously a turbulent time. He was losing such a great rabbi in the country in itself. He was succeeded by another rabbi, Rabbi David Valenci. I think he himself passed away in the 1827. Rabbi, I don't think we've mentioned him yet inside this series. Now, he wrote great Torah colossal works in itself. The first one, most notably, was the Mishkanot HaRo'im, which you mentioned about at the beginning. I believe it came out in the year 1860. Obviously, he would have passed away more than around 40 years beforehand. It was printed in Livorno, and it was, I believe, a collection of 1,500 different teshuvot, let's just say answers to questions on the topic of on Benosaim Magbonim, I believe. Very interesting enough. So it was very, very prestigious. I have another book called Torah, the Chaim V'Chesed book, which that latter was published actually in Livorno in the 1873, significantly after he passed away. This included various different collections of, let's say, sermons and eulogies that was delivered, I think, between the years 1767 to 1810. Very interesting. It's a very, very famous book, actually. I believe this is very famous works that he brought out. And much more can be said with regards to the great rabbi. He was very, very well connected with pretty much everyone. Just to add on, I think in the year 17, all throughout his early years of life, there was turbulence all over the world. Different, let's say, occurrences were occurring in the political sphere in different countries. I believe, for example, in 1756, it was reported over, most notably, that the Algerian army would conquer the city of Tunis. And that meant, at that point in time, so when he was young, he was still only 16 years of age at that point in time, the Jewish community over there had to scatter in all different places. Unfortunately, many people lost their property, houses were set on fire. It's reported that his father's property and let's say finances in of all his possessions, Rav Mordechai Elḥa'ik, will end up getting lost, and various different. It's reported over that he had a great chavruta, great friend, Rav Masud Rafael Al-Fasi. I think his complete work was actually lost or completely burned down during that, let's say, very, very turbulent time period. We can see what actually happened. So, obviously, all throughout his life, there was a much change, or various different windows at times. A lot of different challenges actually came about. Much of it was from unforeseen circumstances. It was actually interesting. He would, the Mishkanot Harim book, I think he would actually start writing even when he was young. And this was a book of responsa from his whole life. As we said before, it was printed in Livorno, 1860. What's interesting with Livorno, that was like the main printing or publishing house of its day. And it was, let's just say nowadays, this great Torah book, the Mishkanot Harim, is seen as a very high esteemed book of halacha, Jewish code of Jewish law in himself, respectively. He would give over grandiose sermons throughout his life, preach publicly to the throngs of the public to try and, let's just say, strengthen the community over there, respectively, and really make huge change all throughout his life, and really did have an impact. The amount of hakarat at all should be second to none within regards to him. There was, I think, other books. I think all these sermons that was actually printed, if I'm not mistaken, was till the year 1810. That was a cutoff point, and that would be featured, I think, very much in the Chaim B'Chesed book, respectively, that was actually printed way after he passed away. Now, so we mentioned about how the Hida visited him in the year 1774, and how he was really responsible for finding out the history of the great Tunisian Rabbanim of its time. And friends over here, we explored the life of the famous Elxayyik, Elxayyik. We're not so sure the exact date he passed away. It was either around between 1812 to 1820, respectively. So if anyone knows the final answer, please let me know on that. Now, friends, we're a community here. We're learning about the great rabbis of yesteryear. If you happen to descend from any of the great chachamim we're speaking about, please send me an email now. I would love to hear more. If you feel anyone's interested in watching these videos, share these videos to other people also. And one extra thing, please subscribe to the channel. We're nearly on 6,500 members. We're going to try and get to Shavuot with 7,000 members. We're going to be a bit over ambitious, so let's try and get near that target, friends. But I think on this note, I wish you all a good night and take care and be well, everyone. Wishing you all blessings from Israel.